Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the Woman of the Bible series that is originally made for this channel. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe for awesome Christian lifestyle videos every single Friday. And don't forget that you can also follow me on my social media for some super extra behind the scenes of my life fun. So today we're going to be talking about a very popular woman of the Bible who I really love, and I'm going to be sharing 3 things that we can learn from her story, as well as how to recreate this inspired look from her. I totally went for a very noble, loyal, field worker, hard worker look. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Ruth and how to recreate this look, then keep on watching. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Ruth. Now, the main thing is that she was the loyal, hard worker that us women can look up to from the Bible. There are different interpretations of the meaning of her name, but some that I really liked were that she is something worth seeing and friendship. I definitely agree with those 2 meanings, and I based a lot of the information we're going to talk about on those definitions. Something that I think is really neat is that out of all of the books of the Bible, only 2 are named after women, and Ruth is one of them. Of course, the other one being Esther, which we have already covered. If you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend that you do. It's one of my favorites. So let's just jump right in. I'm not going to cover everything of the story. There is so much information. It's one of my favorite stories, books of the Bible, because it is like perfect. You know, this story has love and romance. It has, you know, devastation, but then joy. It has, you know, female empowerment. It has friendship. It has hardworking people. It has God's prosperity, God's protection. It has everything that is essential for a good biblical story all in one, which I really love. It takes 15 minutes to read. If you haven't read it, stop this video, go refresh your memory. You'll love this story. Come back and let's talk a little bit about it. Okay, so jumping into the 3 things that really stick out to me and that I really love about this story. The first thing is her heritage and lineage. So about her heritage, she and her sister-in-law, Orpah, I think that's how you pronounce it, were Gentiles. They were not Israelites. They were from a different country, Moab. And something that is interesting also to note is that back then, Israelites were not supposed to marry other people from other countries, only Israelites. So I think that's very interesting that she kind of comes into the story as being a foreigner marrying into an Israelite family. To me, overall, what this story says is that no matter your heritage or your status or where you come from, everyone has a place in the kingdom of God. Her heritage is very interesting because many times as women we tend to hold back because of our heritage, because of where we come from, because of who our family is, and we don't remember that that isn't always important to God. What is important is that we do have a place in His kingdom regardless of our past, regardless of our blood or our family. Let's read chapter 4, verse 16 really quickly. And I know it's basically jumping to the end of the story, but I really liked what it said. So Naomi is now holding the child that Boaz and Ruth had, you know, given birth to. And it says, "Then Naomi took the child, laid him in her lap, and cared for him. The woman living there said, 'Naomi has a son,' and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David." I think this is so crazy cool that the decisions that Ruth made in her past, that we'll talk about in a little bit, of her deciding to leave her country, her deciding to follow Naomi back to Bethlehem, those decisions led to her being placed in the royal genealogy of Jesus, of King David as well. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Lately, God has really been putting heritage and lineage in my heart, and how that is so important and how that is so relevant in our lives. So this really has stood out to me a lot. It just goes to show the importance of our decisions and how they will impact the future of our descendants and our genealogy. And we might not be giving birth to, future kings like David or saviors like Jesus, but we will be raising a generation for God. So I totally love that. So that's super cool how Ruth basically was, David's great-grandmother. So the second thing is friendship is selfless love. One of the main things that we learn from the book of Ruth is what selfless love is in friendship. There was a very strong relationship between Naomi and Ruth. And I think it's very noteworthy because that tends to be very rare nowadays, a very strong relationship between an older female and a younger female. It seems very, very rare, at least to me. So I believe that Naomi's faith might have influenced Ruth early on in their relationship, and it's why later on in the story, she feels really tied to her and, not being able to leave her. Nowadays, friendships can be very frail and very here today, gone tomorrow, where here we have selfless love not only expressed but demonstrated. She not only used her words to express it, but her actions. We see that come to life in verse 1:16, and this is a very, very popular verse which I love, and it's amazing. But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if anything but death separates you and me." She says these words, right? But then she actually goes ahead and fulfills it. That is something so not normal nowadays. Many times our friends are like, "Yeah, I'll be there for you whenever you need me. I'll be there for you." And then when we actually need them, crickets. So with her actions and with her words, she demonstrated her loyalty. She demonstrated her selfless love towards her friend, towards her mother-in-law, Ruth. As girls, we need friendships like Naomi and Ruth, and not like Naomi and Orpah's. The thing is that those type of friendships, they require selfless love and they require sacrifice. And that is what true friendship is, selfless love. So ultimately, I think that the selfless love that Ruth demonstrated really empowered Naomi later on to continue to believe in God when she had pretty much lost her faith in God. So I think it's so important and essential for our friendships to be based on selfless love, to be based not just on words, but on action as well. So the third thing is God honors hard work. There are many different lessons that we can take away from this story, but one that is very relevant to my life at the moment is hard work and what that really looks like and what it means and what does God do with it. So let's look at Ruth chapter 2, verse 22 really quickly. And it says, "And Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, 'Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor.'" Throughout the story, you will see that Ruth is very hardworking. Ruth knew that ultimately it was up to her to go out and work to provide for Naomi and herself. She wasn't just going to wait around for her knight in shining armor to come and be like, "Hey, don't worry about anything. I have everything you need." She went out and she worked for what she needed. And she prayed and waited that God's favor would be over her life. And the definition of favor is a friendly regard shown towards another, especially by a superior, according to Merriam-Webster. Now, let's just talk about what favor is not. Favor is not laziness. Favor is not cheating. Favor is not being a slacker. That is not favor. Many times we ask God to place favor on our lives, favor when we're at school, favor when we're at work. But what happens if we're lazy at work? Is God really going to put favor in us? Are people going to see favor in us? No. We have to work hard the way that Ruth did. She was hard working out there in those fields, trying to get all of what she needed to provide for her family, basically. And while she was working hard, that's when the other harvesters saw the favor that was in her life. So basically what we take away from this is that God honors hard work and he puts favor over those who are willing to work hard for him. So those were the 3 quick things that I wanted to mention about this story. However, I did want to just quickly do a side note, starting with Ruth chapter 2 verse 12. And I think it's very important that it says, "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." So let's just remember that she left her country, her people, her gods behind to follow God, the real God. In a time, if we look, from the theology, historical side, in a time that people were actually abandoning their faith in God. This was a very challenging time in Israel, where people were leaving behind God for, idolatry and other things. So it's very interesting that here we have this convert in a time where people were actually leaving their faith. Sounds familiar? I think so. Right now in our generation, in our time in history, a lot of people are losing their faith in Christianity, but we really need to continue to press on, because there are going to be some people who do want to convert to Christianity, because God is still alive and God is still working in the lives that are seeking him. So jumping over to chapter 3, verse 3, it says, "Wash and perfume yourself and put on your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking." What does this tell me? Basically, aka Naomi is saying dress to impress, aka go slay girl. Some women out there are very, very good at being one step ahead of the game. And I think that this was, of course, with purpose, God's purpose. But I really like that it mentioned, hey, go get cute, And then I love that verse 10 says, "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor." Here we have another okay. Basically, girls, you can make the first move. When it is appropriate, when you are being noble, when you're being modest, it's okay. Just as long as you're doing it in a very appropriate way and not being thirsty. Basically, that's what he was saying here. You aren't thirsty like them other girls. You are noble. You are a good girl. So I definitely love that part of the story as well. It's okay, he sees her. And don't be shy to make that first move if you have to. Just don't be thirsty. So in conclusion, what I take away out of the many things that you can take away from the story is that noble, hard-working women have a place in God's kingdom. It doesn't matter where we come from, what our family looks like, none of that matters, our status, none of it. What matters is that we have our faith in God and that we never stop believing in him, and that we remain faithful to him, loyal to him, and that we continue to show that selfless love towards other people, because he will put us in the right place at the right time with the right purpose. That's what I love about this story. Let me know in the comments down below what you love about this story. Again, it's one of my favorites. It's perfect. I wish there was a really, really good movie about this story. I would love it. Okay, so this look is inspired by Ruth and this amazing story that I love so dearly. I think it's a very appropriate conservative look, and it's very glowing like always, and it captures those kind of harvesty colors that go along with the, setting of our story. So if you want to learn how to recreate this look, then keep on watching. Alright, well I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. If you do recreate this look, please let me know. Send me your pics, your selfies. I would love to see your Ruth inspired makeup look. Don't forget to be like Ruth, a selfless, hard-working woman of God who had a place in His kingdom and knew it. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure to do that down below before this video ends. Give it a huge thumbs up if you did enjoy. I will be seeing you guys again really soon. So God bless and goodbye.